Good morning. Welcome. It's so good to see all of you.
Good morning.
We're going to give it another moment here. People are joining us.
Congratulations, Andra.
Oh, thank you. It's been going well.
Yeah. Like I haven't had a chance to see you and say that. So
it's nice to see you.
Yes, we're excited. But we still have her here, which is awesome. All right, people are still getting connected.
Awesome. Olivia, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Oh, there we go.
I was just thinking of you, Olivia. Yesterday, I was like doing something with my kids' clothing, and I'm like, "How's Olivia and the baby?" Like, I was just like, "I wonder how she's doing." So I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, how's the baby? She's 8 months on Sunday.
Oh, amazing!
It's crazy.
That is such a cute age. Oh my gosh.
I'm
just
so
get, like, so that they want to be everybody's best friend. They get so social. It's so cute.
I'm so happy to see all of you.
It's great to see you too. And Mariano, yay. So nice to have folks coming together.
All right. So welcome. We're so glad to have you here. I'm going to get started just so that we have all the time to make sure that you get to chat with one another and get to know each other during this community of practice time. So hello, my name is Crystal Starr Howe. I'm from the San Diego County Office of Ed. I am coming to you with our Cali County Office of Education Innovation Hub for today's community of practice. And we're kicking off our 22-23 year. We're very glad to have you here. Just a brief overview of our agenda so that you all know what you've gotten yourself into for today. We're going to do a little bit of our welcome. We're going to take a look at what happened last year in 21-22, sort of revisit that, make sure that we're on the same page about what's going on and what tools we have to lean on this year. Andrew's going to share with us the current status of environmental literacy in California so that we all have a better understanding of the systems we're engaging in. We will get lots of time to network, both in random groups and in regional spaces where we can get to know each other and make sure that we can leverage one another's work in great ways. And we are hoping to hear from some of you about what you want out of the rest of our community of practice time this year. And we'll have a few next steps at the end. So I did want to share with you our land acknowledgement. We have a land acknowledgement here in San Diego that I was going to share with you today. For millennia, the Kumeyaay people have been part of this land. Our land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced the Kumeyaay for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the San Diego community, we acknowledge this legacy and we promote this balance and harmony. We find inspiration from the land and from the Kumeyaay. And in sharing that with you, I also wanted to share with you that we hope that you've all seen your own space and the tribes that are invested in the land that you're on. We have the link to the native land site. If you don't know, we'd love for you to share that with us. And we also have this image of place. Comes from the California Indian Education for All site, which has been a program in San Diego locally that some of our tribes are working on to really develop resources to bring that California Indian lens to our classrooms across content areas. And a lot of that has some lovely connections to the work that we do with environmental literacy. And one of the places on their site has the 6 Ps. And the first P is place, really helping us get this understanding of what place means as our California Indian and what that means for us as we're working alongside and with the people of California. So as a reminder, we have a lot of objectives from our COP. We really hope that you all get a lot out of working together. So just take a moment and look at these. And hopefully within these objectives, you're seeing connections to the work that you do and the reasons that you came to join us today. We're really excited that we've been able to reach out through so much of the state. Not only do we have our hub members that have been growing and shifting, but we also have our community of practice participants. You can see the giant list that's at the bottom. These are participants from 21, 22, and we're really hoping to grow these and have every county listed by the end of the year and have all of you getting to feel like you are really part of this community. And finally, just as a quick check-in, as we're getting to know one another and build this space together, today is National Urban Wildlife Refuge Day. And if you don't know, an urban national wildlife refuge is in place to work with community partners to expand outdoor recreation and education for Americans that live in and around cities. And they strive to dismantle those historic barriers to the access for outdoor spaces so that everybody can feel welcome in them. I know this has been really important to me to have some of these in San Diego, since it does sometimes feel like a concrete space to be in all the time. So we're hoping you might share in the chat, where do you go to feel connected to the earth? And if you want to see if you have any urban wildlife refuges near you, Katie put that list in the chat for you. So where do you go to feel connected to the earth? Awesome. Andrew, I love that. Heather, I don't think I've heard of the Eel River before. I now feel the need to look it up. So I'll have to do that after our meeting today. Very cool. So hopefully you're already seeing people you could connect with.
I'll change my
regarding
background so you can see it.
Thanks, Heather. And here we go.
Great. So before we go into breakout rooms, we wanted to do a little bit of revisiting from last year to get us all back in the groove of where we left off, and also to bring new people who weren't in the community of practice into the work a little bit. On the next slide, you'll see the topics that we covered in our meetings last year. We talked about this overarching purpose for this group to position COEs as leaders of systemic change for environmental literacy. We're in that position for a lot of areas of the education system. And so we wanted to make the case for that, and then went through these different topics, facilitating a community-based partner network, focusing in on our areas of influence in curriculum and instruction, and providing professional learning to districts. This pillar of sustainable facilities and how we can help districts create more climate resilient campuses and integrate outdoor learning into the school day. And we had a session focused on where funding can be found for environmental literacy plans and programs. And our final session looked at youth and family engagement, especially that youth piece, elevating youth voice as a way to inspire school leaders to prioritize this work. And then as a part of those sessions, we introduced these tools that were developed in the Innovation Hub. our call to action for education leaders that maps out connections to the LCAP and other priority systems in the California Department of Ed, our state seal of civic engagement toolkit, the teacher call to action toolkit, the community-based partner network toolkit, and then the case studies highlighting county offices of education doing this work. So for those of you who are new to the community of practice and weren't at those topical sessions last year, these tools are still here for you, and we can totally direct you to like the webinars that introduce them and help you start to use these tools. And I'm sure people who were in the community of practice last year could dive in further to a lot of these as well. And the next slide has some preparation before we go into breakout groups. We want to have you all reflect for a moment on whether you've, and I'm just going to put this spreadsheet in the chat in a moment. But before we do that, reflect on whether your program is still in the same place in terms of these three pillars that we like to structure our work around. The campus, which really has to do a little bit more with facilities and greening, and the curriculum pillar, and this community and culture pillar, connecting with community-based partners and building a culture of sustainability and environmental protection at campuses. And the student health and wellness also falls under there a lot. So think about that, and we're going to actually update using these implementation stages framework of whether you're in your COE in each of those pillars. Think about where you fall, whether nothing's happening really in that pillar yet, or you're still getting buy-in. Maybe you've got some assessment data and are starting to work on plans that you've put in place, or you've got some systemic programs or projects happening. And update the spreadsheet here that's in the chat that Katie put in already. Thank you, Katie, for your county office of ed. And we're going to do this silently for just a few moments before we go into breakout rooms. So you can do it from the point of view of your role. If you have multiple people from your county office here today, you can each add into your section. There are also columns in that sheet asking about looking ahead, what you might want to focus on in the coming year, and what your strengths are that you see that you could leverage this coming year. So we'll just take a few silent moments. You can turn off your camera while you work on it if you want to, and I will call you back in a few, and then we'll do breakout rooms to share a little. And don't go into breakout rooms quite yet. We are going to just fill in silently a little bit, and then I'll give you the instructions for the breakout rooms before we go into those. So everybody should be in that document, just adding a few notes before we go in and share. All right. Hopefully you all got a little bit of a chance to think about that. And you can continue adding to this while in the breakout rooms and in our later parts of the session. And we can go ahead and go to the next slide. For these breakout rooms, we're going to go into groups of 3. I just put the breakout room instructions in the chat. Basically, do a quick introduction of where you're from and decide on a timekeeper, and then take 4 minutes to share out what phases your COE is in those 3 pillars, and what are your strengths or assets for this work in 22-23. What are you hoping to focus in on and make progress on? And then if there's some time left over, you can look for areas of convergence across your counties and just discuss. So we'll have 15 minutes. Go ahead and join your breakout rooms. All right. Do we want to go in and join? I see some of us are a third person in those rooms. So.
Yeah, I see. I could have done that differently, but I assumed that you guys would
Yeah.
go in and chat
I'm
with
gonna,
people.
yeah, I'm gonna go in to mine, although there's 3 in mine already, so they probably have
But
plenty
you
to talk
can
about.
hop to anyone that you want to go to.
Oh,
Right?
okay. Yeah, then maybe I'll hop to one that has 2 people.
Are there any with?
Oh, Katie joined hers. Okay, that's fine. Okay. I'll just hang back because I'd like to, for them with 4 people, it's like not enough time to share. And Jose and Mara, I'm in the fellowship with, and Naomi from San Mateo. So I think I'm well connected to those people.
Yeah,
It's okay.
the other ones looked okay.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, how are we doing for timing? All right. Do we have everybody back out of our breakout rooms? Let me just double check. Yes, they're all closed. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope that those conversations were interesting and inspiring. And let's just take a moment. It'd be wonderful to have everybody share out in the chat in response to this question, like where are you hoping to focus your energy this year, in which pillar, on a certain project? I mean, that could be it could be that you want to learn more in a certain area, or that you want to create a plan in a certain area, or that you're actually implementing a project or a program. So, you know, all levels of engagement are fine, but we would just love to see what people are thinking. If you can share in the chat, that would be great. And then also have some time for people to share out about any themes we're seeing in those responses. Or if you had any connections in your breakout group where you're like, oh, we're all really interested in this topic. I invite people to just share out a little bit about anything that really resonated. I already saw a couple after school things come up. Yeah, seeing some people wanting to, I like that, dip the toe in the facilities pillar. Yeah, I definitely can empathize there, Jose. That's how I felt a year ago last year. And so I did my toe dip last year, and it so much learning, very interesting. So would love, and I'm still learning, but it's also really exciting to get in that pillar work. Seeing CTE Pathways mentioned, we definitely have some people doing great work in that area, and expanded learning and after school comes up a few places. I know we discussed in our breakout room a little bit about this opportunity coming up around the Schoolyard Forests funding, and that there'll be grant money opportunities coming soon from CAL FIRE funds that is earmarked for planting trees on campuses, and that could be tied to expanded learning programs or any part of the school day, but exciting to think about. Anybody want to speak up out loud about what they heard in their breakout room that resonated with them?
I think one of the things that I recognized was there are all elements of all of our county offices, no matter what their sizes, where there are spaces where we're just beginning initiatives, just dipping the toe in the water, just starting to have those conversations, and other spaces where there's traction and excitement and energy and motivation. And I think it was just wonderful to hear from other county offices that come from such a different space and a different point in their continuum, that we're all having spaces like that where we're just beginning conversations, and then at the other end places where we have a little more motivation.
Yeah, thank you, Peggy, for sharing that. And I totally agree. I think that applies for all of us, the COEs in the Innovation Hub, to people who are just joining right now for the first time today. Anybody else want to share a topic you're excited about, or an area you want to see progress in?
We are working towards getting a service learning workshop series going for how to incorporate environmental service projects into their school sites and grade level band, like grade wide projects. And so we're building some partnerships right now with our community of practice for outdoor ed folks to make sure that there are enough folks at the ready when a school is like, yes, I want to do it. They're like, great, we can help. So sort of making sure that when the thirst is there, we've got something at the ready.
Cool. And is that just with high school level, the service learning?
No, actually, we've had more traction with the K-8s. So there's a lot of those like broader grade levels because we got a lot of tiny schools.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing, Maya. And I think we have time for one more share. I'm seeing, yeah, excitement about that. Having a menu of options when the demand is there. Yeah, great to be planning for that. All right. I'm not hearing anybody else right now. So I think it doesn't hurt to get ahead of our schedule a little, because somehow, even when that happens, you never end up being ahead at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Andra to do this next section. Thank you all for sharing.
Great. Well, I'm so excited to be here and to share about this. And it's just nice to reconnect with everybody. So thanks for giving a little time to talk about the statewide efforts. So if you can go to the next slide, I'll share a little bit about some of the major coalition efforts that are happening. And my intention in sharing this is just to say that every single one of these efforts that I'm going to show you, people have said, oh, and we could work with county offices. And I was like, yay, fine. Like that's so exciting that people are like, yes, county offices matter and that we want to work with them in this way. So I just wanted to share what some of them are. So obviously I just put Cali at the top because I think we're all now aware of what Cali is, but of course, Cali works really closely with the county offices now. And there's a whole, county office of the Education Innovation Hub. So excited about that. And just so you all know, that was not true 5 years ago, right? Like 5 years ago, it was like, nobody even talked about the county offices. It was just like districts. So we've really like found our place there. And that's great to have. And now there's a couple new coalitions that are launching. So the California Climate Ready Schools Coalition is launching this year, and it's going to be led in partnership with Undaunted K-12 and 10 Strands. And the point of this initiative is to really help decarbonize school buildings and ensure that buildings and grounds are really resilient for climate change. And this is a coalition that's really interested in working with county offices and understands that like county offices are critical to the technical assistance that will be needed for school districts to achieve these goals. And there, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but there is a lot of funding in this space, right? So like with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, and so much of it focused on the infrastructure for electrification and all those things, like there's just a lot of money there. And so we're trying to figure out how can we get a lot of that money funneled towards schools. And a lot of it is earmarked to do that, but people are like, we don't know how to help the schools actually access it. And so that's why there's a lot of interest to work with county offices who might be able to help schools do that. A third coalition is the California Schoolyard Forest System. So that also is just launching this year. And it's a partnership with Green Schoolyards America, the CDE, CAL FIRE, and 10 Strands. And the goal is to establish a backbone support system that can help plant tree canopy on public schools across California. And while like it's interesting, two things happen simultaneously. This Backbone Founding Partners group got 1.5 million to establish like a planning grant. And a big piece of that planning grant is how do we work with county offices to help them support their school districts? And at the same time as like that, like a month after that was like being announced and shared, it was like, and here's $150 million to do that with trees, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money for getting trees onto all these school grounds. And again, people are like, how do we work with districts and how do we make sure that county offices are brought into that? So I'll just pause there and have you think about this question. Which coalitions seem the most interesting to you personally? Which might be interesting to your superintendent? And which might be most interesting to your school communities? And I'm going to show you a couple more updates and then we'll go into breakout rooms later to discuss that idea of like, which of these seems interesting to you. So you can go to the next slide. So a couple other things that are happening, another statewide large coalition effort that actually launched in 2019, but just got relaunched is the Eclipse. So that's the Environmental and Climate Change Literacy Projects. And that's a partnership between the UC CSU system and 10 Strands to really focus on advancing this work in higher ed, in schools of education to better prepare teachers, but also for current existing teachers. And so there's a lot of partners like the California Subject Matter Project as well in that. And again, county offices provide so much professional learning for teachers. So this was like another major partner for this. And I know many of you that are here attended the recent relaunch, but we want to make sure that all county offices know about this project. And then a couple more things that are a little bit more like project oriented are the Cal ECBP Hub, which is a resource portal that promotes environmental literacy and really like helps identify who are all the community-based partners in any given region. So we're looking to increase the amount of counties that are represented on that website. And then the third one is the California Green Ribbon Statewide Working Group, which is run in partnership with George Garcia, who's at the CDE. And he's really looking to figure out how can we take participation in the Green Ribbon program, which currently is like the only federally and state recognized program for green school efforts. And it's a whole system approach. So it's like campus, curriculum, community, and culture. George wants to see that go from like 8% of our state participating in it to at least 15% of our school districts. So that's another one that some of you I know have attended and been a little bit of a part of, but everybody's welcome. And George really sees this idea of county offices as a critical support system to providing technical assistance for that awards program. So lots of stuff happening. And if you go to the next slide, I'll just mention a couple other things. So I know many of you are part of our COE fellowship, but as I mentioned, all these different statewide efforts are like, let's work with county offices. But I know for county office people, it's like, whoa, that's like overwhelming. How do I even do that? And so the fellowship that we're running is meant to support folks to figure out how do we engage with those things and do some of that work. And then also going on, some other noteworthy statewide efforts is the Climate Change and Environmental Justice Program, that curriculum that's in partnership with 10 Strands and the San Mateo County Office of Ed. That project has now gotten underway, and they'll be reaching out to COEs in early winter to see who could maybe help with finding teachers who might be able to pilot this model curriculum. So you can expect to maybe hear from some folks at 10 Strands about that. And then there's another project called Cella, which is a great project run by the California Subject Matter Project that's really looking to help teachers use mapping and environmental justice issues and get students really engaged with, as Maya, like you were saying, like service learning projects and how they can make a difference in their communities. So that might be one to check out. And then I'm leading a couple different landscape data related projects to really just identify like what's happening across our state with like our largest school districts and with our county offices. So you can probably expect to hear from me at some point to just like double check on the data that is relevant to your county. And so just again, we're just trying to make sure that we really understand the system that we are trying to make these changes in. So that's a ton of information, but needless to say, like if I was to know 5 years ago that this is what the world would look like in our system, I'd be like, what? This is crazy. All these investments, all these coalitions, like things for curriculum, things for grounds, things for buildings. Like I would never have expected it to be where it's at. So I would say we're on a positive trend upwards and I don't see it going away. So definitely this is a time to get in the, at the ground level and really do this work. So I'd love to open up for just like a short breakout room to give people a chance to just discuss some of that and think about what was interesting, what they think might be interesting for their superintendents and what might be interested for their school communities. So if somebody could, open up the breakout rooms, or just give people a chance to chat about that.
Would you mind just quickly putting the ask in the chat so that we can be clear on what we're talking about?
If somebody could put the question, which projects are most interesting to you, what might be most interesting to your superintendent, that'd be great.
Okay, just those things. Okay, thanks.
And I believe for this one, we were going to be in breakout rooms by region. So if we could.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's great. So just go ahead and find your region and head in there.
The next slide, I think, has regions on it. In case you don't know. Maybe I.
I wonder if it might be good to combine a couple of the regions. Okay, well, welcome back. I just wanted to pause before I talk too much about advocacy to even further expand all those efforts. Like, did any questions come up in your breakout rooms about all these different coalitions or anything that people just wanted to double check before I talk about how we're going to do more to even expand all that? Okay, great. Well, hopefully you're excited to see that that the investments and the interest in this work has only expanded and will continue to expand. So 10 Strands and other coalition partners that I just showed have gotten much more familiar with the legislative cycles and the state budget process. Which is quite a lot, as you can see in that infographic image, like navigating the state budget process is complex. But that means that we're able to get a lot better with the asks that we're making and a lot more clear about where where the investments need to be made. And every time that we start this conversation, it's always like, we need at least 60 million for the COEs to staff up and do this work. And so I just wanted people to know that that's what's happening. And so if you can think about how comfortable your county office is in participating in advocacy efforts and sign-on letters and working with local legislators, that's something that we would love to see happen more from the county offices. So if you have a superintendent who you think would like to get involved, please let us know, and we'll start to include them in that in those efforts. I know for some superintendents, it's really like appealing to them. And Amity and I and Tamara, we actually just presented recently at the county boards conference, annual conference, and there was a lot of interest from the county board members as well. So I feel like this is a good political space that a lot of our superintendents and board members are stepping into and want to see an increase in. Okay, I think that's it. So back over to you, Crystal.
So we just came out of a regional networking kind of sort of breakout, but it had a very specific focus. And I know that I know in my breakout room, we mid conversation. So we wanted to give you that chance. One of the things that we had a lot of feedback on from the last year's COPs was that you all really wanted a chance, some legit time to have conversations and to network and to really start to dig deep into some of the projects that are happening either within your own county or within your region. So if you could go to the next slide for us. Hopefully you've already introduced yourself from the last breakout, but just some possible discussion topics. I know you're probably already going a certain way, but if you're kind of stuck, still thinking about those initiatives that Andrea presented and what you're either currently engaged with or want to. And this is a really lovely time to actually think about things regionally. So you're in a regional breakout room. Are there places and spaces across your region that you can start to come together and do work together for kids or districts? What community-based partners you're working with. Also a lovely time to think about who you can actually connect with, like for some of those stewardship projects. And then also, who else do you want to bring in to that community-based partner type network? What are some success stories that you can share? There's always good things going on in county offices, so thinking about what those are. And then also some of those hiccups and challenges that you have and how you guys can actually help each other out to get over those hurdles. So we're going to put you in for about 12 minutes just to kind of finish up the conversations that you had from before. And then we'll come on back. Well, welcome back. I hope everybody had a fruitful conversation. I know in ours, it was lovely we had two of us that were expanded learning and two that were, well, one environmental literacy and one STEM. And we had a lovely conversation and trying to find places and spaces to bring all of our work together. So I hope you guys all had a fruitful conversation as well. I am going to pass it over to Peggy.
I was just distracting myself by adding a little note in the spreadsheet based on conversations we were just having in our last group. So we wanted to make sure that we were really, as we are planning out these meetings within the County Office of Education group, making sure that we are attending to the needs of those that are coming to the room. So based on the topics that we have covered last year and in years prior, as well as conversations that have come out from the fellowship program and with different innovation hubs throughout the Environmental Literacy Initiative, we put together a list, and I think if someone can drop that in the chat for me, we've narrowed down the topics of interest based on those conversations that have been occurring over the last year, but we also wanted to make sure that we were prioritizing the topics that are important to all of you. There's also two questions that I really want to highlight. When you click on the Google form, there is the additional topic. So if there is a topic on this list that you feel is of importance, but we have not listed, make sure to list that. But we also want to spend time at these meetings highlighting all of the amazing work that is happening within our county offices. And so that last question of are there success stories or tools or resources that you would like to have time or be given a platform to share out as well? So what we want you to do is on that list of interesting topics or things that might interest you to be working on in this group, choose your top 4, the 4 that are of most interest to you. If there is an other, please give a little description of a topic that you would like to cover, maybe something that came up in your conversations during your regional breakout rooms today. And then if there are any success stories that you would like to share or tools or resources that you would like to share with the group. So I'm going to pause and stop talking for a moment and give everyone a chance to complete this interest form.
I just want to add one thought about that last question about success stories, because we were in our breakout room just talking about how wonderful it would be to hear about ones that were stories of sustainable projects or efforts, especially. But one-off success stories is also great, but we were just saying if we can share our sustainable ones, that would be really helpful to leverage.
And I see we have 4 responses. And I think representation from about 13 groups. So we're just going to give everybody a moment to finish. So just your top 4 and then additional topics and success stories.
Yeah, we're going to share the data right now. So everybody do complete the form.
I think we're almost at critical mass. Oh, thank you, Crystal. I just saw it. I was just about to ask that. Yeah, so pretty clearly that supporting districts beyond curriculum and instruction. We do have our professional learning hub as well, focusing on that curriculum and instruction support, but really talking about how we can support those additional programs and program development beyond just curriculum and instruction. Highlighting youth voice, bringing those advocacy and agency elements into our program, ways that we can engage students. Climate impacts and emergency response. I know in our breakout room, conversations around the CAL FIRE program and ways that resources are being made available as well. Connecting across content areas seems to be another one. And then finally, the greening of facilities. I know that has been a conversation in all of the breakout rooms that I have attended so far this morning on ways that we can start building out supporting both our campuses and our county-wide efforts into different departments and different areas of our county office. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And if you have additional thoughts on areas or success stories that you didn't get a chance to list, I'm sure we'll be able to add those as we go along. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. Awesome. So we're excited to be able to use that feedback and thinking to make sure that we are crafting our COP time to meet your needs. So as we close out today, there's a couple things. One is Katie's putting in the chat a Gots and Needs Jamboard. And when you look at it, and I'm going to show it to you, there is one slide. The first slide, just use the sticky and share something that you got out of today. And then the second slide is something that you need for future COPs. And that might be related to content, which you just shared with us, but it also could be related to the structure, who you want to work with in breakout time, that kind of thing. So please just let us know those gots and needs. And I'm going to give you about a minute just to get on there and get started before I zoom along. And I'm going to move it so you're not watching yourselves do that.
It's on view only, so we cannot.
Oh, no.
And I don't know if maybe it's because I'm in the wrong emails.
No, it's me. It's me. Try that. How's that? You might need to refresh.
Thanks.
Okay, so once you've given us a got and a need, we're gonna give you one more thing that we're hoping that you'll get a chance to fill out. We really want us to be able to use this community of practice as a way to go back and see who's here and see what's working in districts or in counties. So we have a COP slide deck, and we are hoping that you will use this to share both who's involved from your team and then also some successes and challenges that you might have. So when you get on that and look, you will find, maybe if I can get it to come up, you will find a slide already built for your county office. They're reverse alphabetical for those of you who are in Ventura and tired of having to always go to the bottom of the list, that kind of thing. But once you find your COE, the slide after it is a slide for you all to fill out. You can put your people here. Melissa is now joining us. I'm so excited. San Diego, so I'm putting her on.
Also view only.
Also view only. I clearly was in a view only mood when I made all of these and linked them. I'm so sorry. I really thought I fixed them. We are hoping for successes on one side and challenges on the other. And hopefully, you know, to help us get an idea of who's got successes that maybe we can steal or we can copy, and then who's got challenges that we can team up and kind of brainstorm together how to work through some of the same challenges. So that's there for you. And I'm going to give you a minute or two to just find your slide and get it started. I know if you're anything like me, trying to come back to that at a later meeting, it just ends up on a post-it somewhere. Seeing movement happen in our represented COEs. You can also see your local COEs, who else is in your region that you might want to reach out to and say, hey, can we team up on some environmental literacy stuff? Do you want to join the community of practice? Okay. And Amity, I think that's actually a perfect comment for all of us that are coming from COEs and representing different spaces. We really want us to get a picture of all of our different divisions that end up doing part of our environmental literacy and sustainability work and what that looks like across COEs. So thank you for that. As a reminder that the Greens California School and Community College Summit is October 18th. I know October is full of things. So if you're going to anything, STEAM, Green School Summit, the CASE conference, hopefully you're connecting or hooking up with people from COEs. I'm sure that there are other conferences happening in October, but we really, there is going to be a Cali District Innovation Hub, a meetup that's there, and you can see the link from Amy in the chat. So check that out.
We'd also love if you have folks that are doing this kind of work in districts that would be interested in attending. We can help with some of the registration fees too, if there are district folks that you guys have invited.
Thanks, Amy. And then we have 3 more COPs this year. So we're doing quarterly meetings or a little bit longer and hopefully giving us that time to network. So when we meet in December, we'll be doing a little more learning, a lot more talking, and space where we can come together and really think about what's going on and what we're working on. Please make sure you register for those. I think this year there's still individual registrations per meeting. So make sure you go in and do that. And thank you from our Cali Innovation Hub. We appreciate having you here. Feel free to reach out to us. And I think this link and the recording will be shared on the Cali website at some point and emailed out to you. So have a fabulous day. We look forward to seeing you again in December.